हाँ हो जाएगा लोड। Holy shit. Oh hi, real shit. एक और था। हेलो मैं फेलो अमेरिकन। उसको बनाने में ज्यादा समय लगा। Holy shit. Seriously? नहीं मैं स्मूथ नहीं होता। स्मूथ तो है। हाँ कुछ भी। kick. Vietnam. अच्छा एक और है हाँ फ्लैश है ये रियल टाइम अपडेट भी हो रहा है डाउन हो रहा है वाह
Minä olen Otso.
Kuka sinä olet? Minä olen Aino. Sinä.
Honestly, though, Finnish is not
Kuka
not
sinä
a
olet?
bad
Minä
first
olen Aino.
language. There's definitely a few that
うどん？息子？
ホテル？
とても？そのサラダは少し大きいですね。そのサラダは少し、そのサラダは少し大きいですね。 ここ。アニメ？
映画？テニス？
じゃあ、紅茶を一つください。じゃあ、紅茶を一つ。じゃあ、紅茶を一つください。
日曜日。
土曜日、空手？ホテル？
明日何時にサッカーをしますか？
じゃあ、4つ。定食、弁当をください。
あ、おにぎりを3つください。3つ。おにぎりを。おにぎりを。おにぎりを。おにぎりを。おにぎりを。3つ。
新聞。9時に新聞を読みます。
毎朝8時にラジオを聞きます。
バオ。
日曜日、土曜日。
すみません、コーヒーをくだ
お、しか、に、8時、
8時にアニメを見ます。
に、なおみ、3は、お茶を飲みます。
I can't do this.
Site, but Astralis, they're going to be hard pressed. It's all on Bubs.
They won't change.
It's 3.
Just look at these guys.
Kids are here. Can you flash, Sky? Can you flash for me?
No.
Dude, why are they playing so slow?
No, he's opping it. There's no point, I promise.
I'm dinked.
Bomb under there. Enemy spotted A.
Oh wow, he got his too?
Awful fucking players still opping it.
Oh, I thought I heard a smoke, so I thought we smoked right here, I'm gonna be honest. Kim Cam, thank you for the tier 3. What? Tier 3 2 months? Oh my god, what the fuck? Wait, why the tier? Thank you. Jesus.
Player standing.
It's just
You get a hand cam? I'm not doing a hand cam. Wait, what the fuck? My boy TP'd right on him.
Guys, Johan sat in spawn all game last game. Doing it this game.
Dude, what is this slow, boring ass game?
Other proprietary information that he shouldn't have had, right? So they made him delete all his stuff, and his excuse, he made up these lame excuses that, oh, it's his first time ever traveling to the US and he didn't know that you're not allowed to take photos, which is, of course, absolute nonsense. And this is why China very often gets a pass, you know, these CCP-linked companies or just Chinese companies, they get this pass because, you know, in the West, we're very forgiving usually of people from different cultures, and we always like, oh, we understand, you know, oh, you don't understand the language, that's okay, give them a free pass. But that China actually uses that high trust society, they know how to take advantage of that, and they always like, oh, I just broke the law here, but oh, I didn't know, you know, I can't speak the language, I've never been here before. Tried and true, they use it all the time. Anyway, those first two events were just the beginning. We have, and I don't want to bore us and go through a history lesson here because I've got tons and tons and tons of lawsuits that have been, you know, put against Huawei in the past by Motorola, where it's, you know, ex-staff members were giving all the Motorola, like, you know, secret information to Huawei. And of course, Nortel was hacked. Everyone knows that. And, you know, unfortunately, the result of this is that the companies that put in all the innovation and actually created these certain devices were pushed out of the market by Huawei, who actually took their own devices and their own IP and built cheaper units and undercut the original inventors and the original designers of this equipment and forced them out of the market. So some of these big companies have actually gone bankrupt or closed down or cut down significantly, downsized, simply because Huawei stole their designs, their software, their IP, and then created something much cheaper. Because remember, if you do not need to spend money on R&D, you get to spend money on assembling things, setting up factories, buying components. So all those billions of dollars that are usually spent on developing a product, Huawei didn't have that overhead. That's what gave them this head start. Anyway, let me introduce you all to one of my favorite places in the world, which you can see now behind me. This is Huajian Bay. Okay, Huajianbei is, well, many people call it the Silicon Valley of China. And this is in Shenzhen, the city that I lived in for 14 years. And this was just down the road from me. I would go there. And Huajianbei is like a wonderland for anyone who's interested in technology. You can go and get almost anything you want repaired there, but more importantly, you can go and buy component level stuff. I'm just going to pause it there on that little Huawei Honor store. You can go and buy anything electronic. So not only just chips and component level stuff, but you can go and buy all the gadgets and all that. I've made plenty of videos on my channel. In fact, I got videos where I went and bought an Oppo phone that I gave away to a subscriber, where I went and looked at all the different smartphones and things that you can find. You can look for that on my channel if you're so inclined. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is I would like us to look at the Huawei stores here. Okay, so this is some footage I took some time ago before I left China, of course. You've got Oppo, which is another big one. And here we can see a Huawei store. Now, Huawei doesn't just steal software and, hardware designs and that sort of thing. They also steal design language. Okay? The Huawei stores, and it's not only Huawei, of course, Xiaomi and other Chinese companies do this as well. We could definitely make a series out of this. But if you look at their stores, they're almost identical to Apple stores. Okay? So they steal the design language of the stores. And they also, the products themselves, steal the design language mainly from Apple, but other brands as well. And I know there are people out there who are going to say, well, you know what, smartphones kind of all look the same now. And yes, they do. I got various different smartphones that I could, line up here. And you could say, yeah, I mean, they're similar. They look like a black slab or a slab or whatever. That's fine. But when you start to see an exact copy where the ports are in the same place, the colors are exactly the same, the camera locations are exactly the same, that kind of thing, then you can't bring that argument out there to say, oh, all smartphones kind of look the same, all smartphones use Sony sensors, etc. No, when they look exactly the same and they have almost the exact same name as well, you can't have that argument anymore. It's just a blatant knockoff and a blatant copy. So I'm going to fast forward past this footage I have here. Yes, let's see. Wow, isn't that a nice Apple store? No. Oh wait, that's actually a Huawei store. That's the Huawei flagship store in Shanghai, which opened a while ago. There's not much that can be said about that. It's just an exact copy. And look, it didn't go unnoticed. You got some people in the press, actually, on Twitter, etc., calling it out and saying, look, even the lights are exactly the same. It's an exact copy. They really don't try at all. They even have the Huawei flagship store in Shanghai knocks off the experience room, the same one at the Apple French one, and they even copy the layout of the 1800s Parisian apartment Apple restored. Yeah, and this is recent. It's kind of ridiculous. So let's also just we're on the same track here with design language. The laptops now. I actually do have footage of myself going into a Huawei store. I couldn't find it because, you know, I got to mess with my hard drives. I'll find it and I'll post it on social media at some point. But when I went into the Huawei store, I couldn't believe just how blatant the copies are of MacBooks and of iPhones and what have you. You can't actually tell the difference. In fact, even the name, instead of being a MacBook, it's called a MateBook. You know, it's really dumb. Okay, what can I say? It's blatant. It's out in the open. It's just blatant copy. So you got these MateBooks and stuff. It looks like you've walked into an Apple store, and you know what? They actually copy them pretty well. From a short distance, you cannot tell the difference between an Apple product and a Huawei product, especially the laptops. It's just blatantly ridiculous. And and I love this. They got a new one called well, not that new, but they've got a line called the Magic Book Pro. Just like a MacBook Pro. So they got the MateBook and they got the Magic Book Pro. It's like, can you not come up with your own names? Can you not come up with your own designs, Huawei? Why do you have to steal everything? We know that you love stealing stuff and have been for years, but at least try, you know, try a little bit. Why don't you take on some kind of Chinese design language? You know, why don't you incorporate Peking opera designs or something to do with China? I mean, that's just an idea. You don't have to, but, you know, why not something different? Yeah, anyway, that's what it is. Look, Huawei's been caught out a lot. They've multiple times been caught out faking what their cameras can do as well, just like this 2018 article points out. Huawei was caught out using a pro camera to fake their smartphone photos again, and this was an Egyptian advertising campaign, and they got caught out because the actress posted on her Instagram, and let's see what she posted, because this is supposed to be a selfie that you're seeing now behind me, taken on the Huawei whatever Mate 10 or 20 or whatever it is that they have at the time. And there is her Instagram post where you can see the photographer with what looks like a Canon 5D Mark III, you know, with a professional lens taking the photo. So yeah, we're dealing with a company that's more or less just based on theft and deception. Yeah, here we have the Huawei Mate. Which one was it? This is yeah, there we go. This is from 2 years ago, so this will be the Mate 10 Pro or Mate 20 Pro. I don't keep up with the Huawei things, model numbers and stuff. But anyway, their flagship was a shameless iPhone X copy, which this reporter obviously showed in this by comparing the two. You know, the camera location's exactly the same. The feel and look of the phone is exactly the same. And it's just frustrating, really, to see this kind of behavior by a big company. So here's another little fun thing Huawei did. Was before they released their Mate 10 Pro, is they had a little competition. And they asked people to write, they said you could win one of these Huawei beta, you could be a beta tester for these new Huawei flagships. You just have to write down what your expectations are, and you know, basically what you're looking forward to in the phone, what you like about the phone. And then what they did is they took all those entries into the competition and put them onto Best Buy websites as reviews, customer reviews. So there was like all these fake reviews, which were actually entrants into the competition. And well, you get the idea. Huawei is very used to using underhanded means and whatnot. So, you know, why does this, why do these Western companies put up with this? This is my question. Like, why is it that all this theft has gone on for so long and no one's really made a huge stink about it? Well, it's the lure of the Chinese market. There are countless companies that have not formally complained because they want to enter the Chinese market. And as soon as Huawei starts to mess with them and steal their stuff, they know that if they complain and they make a big stink out of this, there's going to be a knee-jerk reaction that will bar them from the Chinese market. So it's greed, really, at the end of the day, because they want that piece of that pie. And this is how the CCP operates. And I'm going to constantly conflate the CCP with Huawei here because they are one and the same. And I'm going to give you some proof of that shortly. But the fact of the matter is, the CCP loves this whole fake carrot, real stick approach. So they offer you this fake carrot, which is you get to have a part of the Chinese market, this massive lucrative market. You can come in here. So the company starts to invest a lot into China, getting into China because they want to get into China. But when it suits the CCP, they will bring out their stick and be like, okay, you still want a piece of this pie? You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do this. So the company will comply, censor itself, do whatever it is. And that stick's ready to whack. And guess what? Once that company's invested a lot in China, and the Chinese companies start to benefit from it. In other words, the joint ventures or what have you start to take the technology that's being brought into China. And in fact, take it away from the initial company and start OEMing it, start doing it themselves, start to build their own app or their own whatever it is. Then the CCP bans that company, whacks them with that real stick, and the fake carrot was never real in the first place. Anyway, that is why we've had this huge amount of theft with not a hell of a lot of stink. I'm going to read a little bit here with of some other stuff that I know about Huawei and just want to tell you. But back a couple of years ago, former Huawei staff revealed that they were briefed to recruit rival talent, but struggled initially. So they turned to scrutinizing network hardware of rivals. In Huawei's Stockholm office, the researchers stashed foreign-made equipment in an electronically secured basement. Some was shipped to China to be dissected by engineers. And the secretive chamber is not only in Stockholm, but even in Texas. This actually was brought up by US intelligence, was actually upset that Huawei had like a secure room in their offices, and it's electronically shielded. No one can, penetrate it with electronics or go in. And here's the part that really tickles me a little bit is Huawei had built spy-proof secure rooms in their Texas facility that were off limits to American employees. Okay. So, I mean, what is this? What is this spy espionage bollocks that American employees are not allowed? Imagine we have a company in China and they've got a room that's shielded off that's not accessible to Chinese employees. Just imagine how that would fly. Imagine you go and set up your thing there and it's like, oh, in China, Chinese people are not allowed to go into this room. It's just a bit much. Anyway, that's some of the things they've been up to. But now we have to move past the theft and IP stuff because we know it's blatant, it's out there. You can just look at Huawei products to know this. Yes, you're getting good bang for your buck, but remember, guys, you're buying something that's built on theft and lies and deceit. At the end of the day, it's what I'm trying to put through is there is a moral part to all of this. And when it comes to knockoffs, I am totally not innocent. I definitely have bought knockoffs in my life. And in fact, growing up in South Africa, there were sanctions against South Africa. And when I was a young boy, I couldn't get a Nintendo because no Nintendos were sold in South Africa. They weren't allowed to be sold due to sanctions put in place because of apartheid, right? So we ended up getting cheap Russian and Taiwanese and Chinese knockoffs of Nintendos, which were sold in the local stores. So I had a knockoff Nintendo and fake pirated Nintendo cartridges, there's like 101 type things and all those cheap rubbish Chinese knockoff cartridges and stuff. So, in that situation, there was no choice between buying an original or a knockoff. We only had the knockoffs available. So I know what it's like. And especially if you don't have the money to afford an Apple iPhone, you'd much rather support the underdog because you're getting your money's worth. But at the same time, there's that moral part of it, which you have to think about. The companies that have gone under because of this, and it goes beyond just competition and companies and who lost out monetarily. This goes into human rights, and this goes into a lot more, which is what we're going to address now. Huawei has been proven. This is not, I'm not making this stuff up, okay? Huawei has been proven to be linked to the CCP, and that's because, well, not only the fact that the members of the CEO and all of that stuff are, former Communist Party or current Communist Party members and stuff. But the CCP, it's been linked to the CCP because Huawei employs people that hold dual positions at both Huawei and also within the PLA Strategic Support Force, which is basically the department that oversees electronic warfare. So it's basically the electronic spy arm of the CCP. People that are still in the electronic spy arm of the CCP are currently employed by Huawei. And this is information that was easily gathered because the CVs of employees, the resumes of employees that work for Huawei were leaked a while ago, or just public information, and it's very easy to find out that a lot of people working for Huawei are either currently attached to the People's Liberation Army spy arm, or they used to work for the People's Liberation Army, especially in the electronics warfare side of things. So, they are linked in that way. But not only are they linked in that way, it's very obvious to tell that Huawei is a part of the CCP. And the reason is that whenever any country or anyone tries to attack Huawei in any way, and when I say attack, I mean call them out for their BS, put tariffs against them, or complain about their backdoors into their routers and so on, it's not Huawei that protests. It's the Chinese government that comes out and protests. It's the Chinese foreign minister that comes out and accuses other countries of, targeting Huawei or being bad towards Huawei, or bullying Huawei. It's always the CCP. It's not Huawei, it's the CCP. Because Huawei and the CCP are one and the same. Their interests are joined. It's all part of what they want. So, we have situations where we get all these threats and so on from the CCP whenever Huawei is kind of under the spotlight overseas. But also, my friend Michael, there are two Michaels that got disappeared, Canadian Michaels in China. One of them is my friend, and I'm not going to say which one because I don't want to cause any more trouble than the poor guy's going through at the moment. But they have been falsely imprisoned as a retaliatory measure for Canada, basically arresting the Huawei CFO Meng, Princess Meng as they call her, because just like Huawei is always doing underhanded crap, Huawei was doing underhanded crap by bypassing sanctions against Iran, by selling Huawei equipment to Iran and lying to the banks in Hong Kong as to how the money was coming through and who the money was for and all this. So she got caught out, okay? And so they put out a warrant for her arrest in the US. And because of the treaty with the US and Canada, of course, she passed through Canada, which, by the way, she has mansions in Canada. She has a lot of assets in Canada. She goes to Canada all the time. She's got 7 passports, for crying out loud. This is not some poor little woman who doesn't know what she's doing. This is a very calculated and very, resource-heavy person that's going around the world doing all these different things. Anyway, she got caught out. Huawei got caught out. And so there needs to be a trial, right? So they arrested her because of her fraud and bullshit that she was doing. But of course, what happens? Huawei doesn't say, oh, this is terrible, this is awful. The CCP retaliates. The Chinese Communist Party, those horrible, dictators, that line of dictators stretching from Mao Zedong, who starved half the country to death, all the way up to now Xi Jinping, dictator for life. They're the ones that retaliated, not Huawei. And they went and just arbitrarily detained 2 Canadians that have got a semi-high profile, because they know that if they do that, they can pressure, at least they think they can, because that's how it works in China. It's all about some innocent person being detained, like your family members or something. Some innocent person that's attached to the person you really want to hurt. They take those guys into custody and they hold them as hostage and they torture them, or they do whatever they have to do until you relent and you give up. And that's what they were hoping would happen. They were hoping that if they just detain these random Canadians, and they didn't even charge them for God knows how long, just detain them, then that'll put enough pressure on Canada to release Huawei Princess Meng. And you know what? They've even admitted it through their back and forth. If you look at the diplomatic stuff, they've admitted that it's related. It's not related. So once again, Huawei and the CCP are 100% in symbiosis. And look, not only that, the CCP has subsidized Huawei in the past too. There are lawsuits that have, been tried to be raised against them. So that's another reason why Huawei can undercut the competition, is because the China's Communist Party is subsidizing them, giving them money. So they don't have as many overhead costs as the competition. It's easy to undercut your competition that way. So, we also have to remember that Huawei, like all other companies in China, absolutely must answer to the CCP. And of course, the CCP is proud of and supports Huawei, because any Chinese company that does well, especially internationally, it means success for the Chinese Communist Party, because the Chinese Communist Party has a complete hold over China and all the companies and all the revenue and everything that comes into China. It belongs to the Chinese Communist Party at the end of the day. So when they see success in a Chinese company, they love it and they support it 100%, and they subsidize them and they do whatever the hell else they can do. And of course, they block any competition within China too, to help Huawei and Xiaomi and all these kind of companies as well. So, I think I've presented more than enough proof that Huawei and the CCP are at least linked. And so what is the actual message of this video today, this Friday video? It's simple. Don't buy Huawei. They're a company that's based on theft, deception, and underhanded practices. And it reaches all the way into human rights. Because of Huawei, my friend is being detained in appalling conditions, while the Huawei Princess Meng gets to live under semi-house arrest in her millions and millions and millions of dollar mansion and still go out shopping for her LV bags whenever she wants to with her bodyguards. This is a human rights issue. Never mind the fact that Huawei is also a security risk and has been proven to be a security risk because of backdoors that were found in the firmware of their routers and switches, etc., and all their network equipment. And this is something I'm very familiar with. And they at first denied that those backdoors existed, and then later, when they were proven 100% that they were there, they then said, oh, but we need those in order to make sure that the equipment is, safe and we can support the equipment properly. It's all this nonsense. And remember, they have to listen to the CCP. So yeah, that's my message for today. It's time now for me to answer a couple questions from you guys. We're going to look at some questions and let's see where this goes.
Boy, 78. Woman is 78. Nice. Shot.
Yes.
30 seconds left. Bed bano. Bachcho, bed bano. Oh, shot. Nice.
Oh, thank you. You are too kind.
Let's go. See, मेरा assist देखो, मैंने तुम्हें heal दिया था.
अच्छा 5 assist, oh भाई.
वही तो.
Oh god.
ये stage खेलने का फायदा.
That works.
PCs are expensive. It's not cheap.
Nice one. Thank
it
you.
It takes a lot of money.
Garage.
Down mid.
Bro. One more. Bro, what was that? That flick was clean. Okay. I flicked the bridge so hard, one tap flick. Bro, I have an ult in third round. You could kill.
This is not good. अरे कहाँ गया वो? Thanks. This is yellow, right? These are basic. So when I say basic needs, this means that is not hard to produce. Electricity is not that hard to produce, but distributing it to the people is hard. This has a score.
Every truck you destroy is an opportunity denied to the enemy. Keep it up, brother.
This degeneracy, man. I just don't get it. I don't get that. Here you go. वोल्टेज ऊपर नीचे हो रहा है बहुत ज्यादा. What the fuck is wrong with you? ये लाउंचर भी चलने लगता है बैकग्राउंड में. लौड़ा बोले हम किसी को आ जाओ माँ चुदाने के लिए? नहीं ना. This look fucking disgusting. What can you say?
you.